This is Goku-san DBZ, and today I am, of course, counting down the top 12 best/worst video game movies of all time. Now, this, of course, would be based on multiple opinions that I've gathered from Facebook, YouTube, and, of course, also Tumblr and Twitter. So, and also, this will be, of course, a mixture. This will be 6 of the absolute worst movies based on video games and the 6 best. And by the way, this will also be strictly live action, excluding animated or CG. Which excludes, of course, the CG Resident Evil movies, excludes the Tekken, Blood Vengeance, and of course will be excluding, obviously, the Pokemon anime movies, which are based on the Pokemon video games. But, in which case, and, well, I guess we'll get this started. Now, first I'll be counting down the top best and then the top worst. So we'll do positive first and negative last. Coming in at number 6, based on a popular racing video game franchise, Need for Speed. Which, of course, was very popular. And to be fair, the franchise is still going, not as strong as, say, franchises like Gran Turismo. But Need for Speed definitely has been popular for a while, though it probably reached its peak back in the PS1 era, with games like Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit. Which, to be fair, at least for personally me, was probably the only Need for Speed game I actually liked was Hot Pursuit. Because it was kind of different than the racing games at that time. Coming in at number 5, Disney decides to take a crack at a popular PS2 platformer, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. And yes, now if you ask critics and some hardcore gamers, they're probably going to hate on it, but compared to a lot of other movies out there, it's still not the best, but certainly better than a lot of live-action adaptations of video games, by far. Way better than a lot. And to be fair, the acting job was decent on it as well. Coming in at number 4, the only good one based on the franchise, Resident Evil. That's correct. Number 4 is the first Resident Evil movie. Frankly, the first one was the only one that even did any sort of honor to the Resident Evil, aka Biohazard video game franchise, of course. Because if you keep into account that basically Resident Evil, for the most part, is a very crappy movie franchise. Apocalypse Onward, all bad. Yeah, the first Resident Evil wasn't the best, but again, best of the franchise, and also was a little more loyal because it wasn't strictly an action movie. It actually did have elements of horror in it. And it's definitely regarded as one of the better live-action movies. And then, of course, they had to keep continuing making movies after Apocalypse, which, by the way, was pretty bad. Not the worst, mind you, not the worst, but yeah, still a piece of shit. Coming in at number 3, the first of the 2 live-action movies based on this popular franchise, Tomb Raider. Which, of course, the Tomb Raider movies, the first one was by far definitely one of the more superior live-action adaptations of video games, without a doubt. The first Tomb Raider was really good. Mind you, not as good, of course, as a video game, but that's kind of hard to do, given Tomb Raider has become a pretty well-respected franchise for the most part over the years. With the exception of Underworld, by the way. But, and I think personally to me, I think to a lot of people who actually enjoyed, one of the probably best parts of those movies is who they casted as Lara Croft. Actually, I thought really did bring somewhat enjoyment and life to the role of Lara Croft. And of course that being Angelina Jolie, which is a good actress, of course. But at least they actually chose a pretty solid actress to play this independent, awesome, ass-kicking woman that is Lara Croft. And Angelina Jolie did a very good job on portraying that character. Definitely one of the best, probably, performances by an actor or actress in any video game adaptation. Coming in at number 2. Somewhat cheesy, but it was a 1990s action movie based on the super popular and successful Mortal Kombat franchise, Mortal Kombat. Which, without a doubt, the first Mortal Kombat was amazing. Yes, it wasn't completely loyal to the source material, but to be fair, at that time when it came out, there really wasn't a huge amount of source material for the Mortal Kombat franchise. Because there had only been like Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, and I think around that same time frame Mortal Kombat 3 game came out. But for the most part, it was good, and probably one of the best performances, obviously, in the movie was who they casted, of course, as Shang Tsung, or Shang Tsung, however you want to pronounce his name. But did an awesome job as the, the sorcerer to the Emperor of Outworld, obviously. And even though it was not the best animatronics and stuff, still, Goro was pretty good. I mean, given, at that time, CG graphics were very limited because it came out in like 94. And yes, CG was still in its infancy back at that time. Really, probably the best CG thing we've seen at that time was probably Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And of course, Jurassic Park. But mind you, they were huge budget movies, and one was done by James Cameron, and the other one was obviously done by, of course, Steven Spielberg. So that's why they were superior films. But for what it was, the Mortal Kombat movie was overall really good. Even people who aren't fans of the fighting game franchise enjoyed the movie because it was a good overall action movie, very enjoyable, and sadly, the actor who played Liu Kang never really got a real huge successful career. Even though, frankly, him as Liu Kang was still probably one of the best things about the sequel. Because they changed most of the air cast. Just saying. Here's a couple of honorable mentions. Silent Hill Revelations. Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Life. And that is pretty much it on honorable mentions. Okay. Coming in at number 1. Based on the awesome, popular horror franchise that actually took what Resident Evil did and made it even better. And that goes for both the game and the movie. The first Silent Hill movie, which incidentally is one of the only movies ever that Sean Bean never died in. And of course the girl in the movie, the adopted father is played by Sean Bean. And he can't find his wife or his adopted daughter, which disappeared because she ended up taking her daughter to Silent Hill because the girl kept having dreams about it and stuff. And that's a good reason why, of course, that happened. But for the most part, even though it wasn't a huge budget movie, the special effects were good. It was definitely probably the most loyal to the source material of any video game movie adaptation by far. It actually managed to bring in some of the creepiness factor of the Silent Hill movie. And video game. And by the way, the Silent Hill movie is by far the creepiest video game live action movie adaptation. The best by far. Quality, the acting's not the most solid compared to some others, but still, for what it was, the acting was really good and top notch. And as I said, the creepiness of it, and it was very little to the game in the blood and gore, which is why, of course, the movie was rated R. But it is definitely by far the most superior, as of right now, 2015, it is by far the most superior live-action adaptation on a video game. Silent Hill. Awesome movie and awesome video game. By far. The video game creeped the heck out of me when I played it for the first time years ago. And I still have the game to this day, but it definitely made an impression on me, to say the least. But, yeah, if you've never played any of the Silent Hill games, and you got a chance, I would, of course, recommend either Silent Hill 1 on the original PS1, or Silent Hill 2, 3, or 4 on PS2, or get the HD pack on PS3 and 360, which is Silent Hill 2 and 3. It's a very highly recommended movie to check out if you like video games or survival horror. Also, of course, I highly recommend the video games, because they really were by far about the creepiest survival horror games out there. And to be fair, not the best aging-wise franchise, but the franchise has aged better than Resident Evil. And regardless of how some people may feel about the sequel of Silent Hill, it's still by far better than any of the sequels to the Resident Evil movie franchise. Just saying. But now we get to talk the pieces of crap movies. The top 6 worst live-action adaptations. Coming in at number 6. Starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Doom. Which is, yeah, pretty bad. And of course, Doom is probably one of the most beloved first-person shooter game franchise ever. Though I never really got into the Doom franchise, to be fair. On Super Nintendo, I didn't play Doom shooters. I was more busy playing Wolfenstein. But that's me. But I understand why a lot of people liked it. Of course, it did have elements of horror, besides being a first-person shooter. Though now they've tried to add a lot more sci-fi elements to it. But, yeah, Doom is probably one of the more beloved franchises that's been around for years. Of course, they're working on a new Doom now. And I believe that's supposed to come out like next year, 2016, 2017, frame-wise. But, yeah, the movie was not that good. To be fair, probably The Rock was the only halfway decent part about the movie, for the most part. Coming in at number 5. Riding on the coattails of the success of the first Mortal Kombat movie, we got a sequel that pretty much everyone hated. Not the best special effects, even though it was in the late 90s when effects were better. Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Yes, Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Now, for me, I don't hate the movie like most people do. It's kind of a guilty pleasure movie for me, I guess you could say. Mainly because I love seeing Johnny Cage die at the hands of Shao Kahn. Now, at least for me, probably one of the biggest pet peeves with the movie, at least for me, and I think probably for a lot of people, besides the CG, is probably the casting choice for Shao Kahn. Yeah, he's played some villains in, like, say, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He made, I believe, an appearance as somebody different in Angel. He appeared in Charmed, and a lot of other shows. But he just was not a good casting choice for Shao Kahn. He wasn't like really huge, tall, height-wise or anything, menacing looking. He was cool as probably looking when he had like the Shao Kahn like helmet thing over his face is when he looked best. But after he took that off, it was just awful. It was not loyal to Shao Kahn. Just saying. And yeah. Coming in at number 4. Resident Evil. Afterlife. Yes, though probably for the most part, probably the worst was either the third movie, Extinction, which of course had an awful betrayal of Tyrant, and then you had Resident Evil, of course, Retribution, which I can't say anything about the movie because I never even saw Retribution. I had enough after Afterlife. Afterlife was cool in the special effects department with the 3D, because that was relatively still a new concept at the time in theaters when it came out. But the acting was not the best, and they did an awful job with the portrayal of a lot of people's favorite villain in the Biohazard Resident Evil game franchise, of course, that being Wesker. He was portrayed very badly, to say the least, in the Resident Evil Afterlife movie. And frankly, if you haven't seen Afterlife, just do yourself a favor and don't watch it. Please don't watch it. Don't watch anything past the first movie, because they've done an awful job portraying characters. Like Apocalypse, they did an awful job with of course, Nemesis, a lot of people's favorite. They did an awful job with Tyrant in the next one. And then in Afterlife, they did an awful job with Wesker, which was a pretty cool douchebag villain in the game franchise. But he was just awful and dreadful, to be blunt. Coming in at number 3. Of worst video game based movies. Tekken. Yes, the Tekken live action movie is just awful. The only good thing about the Tekken movie was the outfits and the actors they chose to play the characters actually looked very loyal. The whole look and stuff of the characters were very loyal to the video game. That's the only part of the Tekken movie that was very loyal. Overall, though, the acting ability was not good, and frankly, compared to the beloved Tekken game franchise, the Tekken movie made absolutely no sense whatsoever, to say the least. It hurt my head, even trying to watch the movie. I think probably that way with a lot of people. But it just made no sense. The story absolutely hurt my head with the way they portrayed the characters and everything. And in this, because the timeline made no sense, because in the game you had Jin Kazuma, of course, his mother, June Kazuma, you had, but yet somehow ended up running the corporation, trying to betray his father, Kazuya Mishima, or Mishima. And of course, the big baddie, which wasn't actually a real villain in this, was more of an anti-hero or something, and that being Heihachi Mishima, of course, head of the Mishima Zaibatsu. Now, you also had Nina, I think, and Anna. Steve Fox was like a mentor figure in the game to Jin, which made no sense, because Jin is actually older in the video game franchise. Jin made his debut in 3, and Steve didn't make his debut until 4. See what I mean? Makes no sense. And by the way, the actor they got to play the part of Heihachi Mishima was none other than our dear Mortal Kombat actor that played Shang Tsung in the Mortal Kombat movie. That's right. So he's been in Mortal Kombat and Tekken. He shouldn't have been in the Tekken movie, though. That just hurt his legacy. He was awesome in Mortal Kombat, but Tekken, he was a pretty forgetful character, for the most part. Now, coming in at number 2, probably the biggest movie that made me the most mad and my least favorite. Street Fighter, The Legend of Chun-Li. Which is, yeah, as bad as people think the original 90s Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter movie was, there was a high point, and that is, you know, the actor who played in Bison. He was having, you could tell in the movie, a fun time playing Bison stuff. He was just really enjoying it, for the most part. And yeah, it was a very cheesy movie, but at least it was good, cheesy, guilty pleasure, good cheesy type movie. And I think a lot of people, that's a guilty pleasure movie for them. But, really, I mean, seriously, Street Fighter Legend of Chun-Li is just bad. Well, let me give you a few things, examples. First of all, Vega was in the movie for about 3 minutes and was beat within 3 minutes. He's a poor man. He basically in the movie was like a poor man's excuse for a Wolverine, I guess you could say. And instead of calling Shadow Law, they call it Shadowloo. Oh yeah, and probably the two biggest pet peeves. One, the actress, though I think she's, of course, beautiful and gorgeous. Still, the girl who played Lana Lang in Smallville was the one playing Chun-Li. No, she did not do a good job for Chun-Li. And also, get this, Ken, instead of being like blonde hair, like Californian and stuff, ends up being like a mentor figure instead of Chun-Li, even though he's supposed to be the same age as her in the game franchise. And interestingly, guess who plays Ken? The actor who played in Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 as Liu Kang. Yeah, there you go. And, oh yeah, while we're at it on nitpicking things, Bison was awesome in the Street Fighter movie, the first one, but Legend of Chun-Li, he's in a freaking black suit, blonde hair, and blue eyes, and he's an Irish businessman. Really? 20th Century Fox, really? That's what you do to Bison? You turn him from an awesome video game, even the cheesiness of Bison from the Street Fighter movie in the 90s, at least was more loyal look-wise and everything, characteristics to it. But no, you have to turn him into a freaking Irish businessman with a black suit, blonde hair, and blue eyes. What the hell, 20th Century Fox? I mean, sorry, I digress. That movie just really gets under my skin. Okay, here's a couple dishonorable mentions. Max Payne, Hitman, The Wizard. Oh yeah, and while we're at it, of course, of other bad movies. Resident Evil Apocalypse, Resident Evil Extinction, Resident Evil Retribution. Okay, number 1 worst video game live-action adaptation on video game. Here it is. Super Mario Brothers. Which should not be a surprise at all, I guess, to anyone. Yeah, the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Which, yeah, I've only watched it one time because that's all I needed to watch of it. I'm not the biggest uber Mario fan, but I will say this. The movie made absolutely no sense whatsoever. It was not, in any way, shape, or form, even close to the video game, though. To be fair, the game is kind of messed up. Yeah. But something about an alternate reality or dimension where dinosaurs were not extinct, and yeah, and they don't even call the main villain, you know, Bowser. Yeah, they call him King Koopa, but They didn't even use his name Bowser, and he looked nothing like Bowser, aka King Koopa. He did not look anything like. And the Mario Brothers. Seriously. Mario, and Luigi Mario. Really? I mean, really? This is another one of those movies that just hurts my head. Trying to wrap around it. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Just doesn't. Okay. This is about, I'll get ready to wrap things up in this vlog. Of course, as always, this is Goku-san DBZ. Peace out. Leave a comment below and give me suggestions for a future top 12 list, video game review, or possibly a book review, or even a TV show review. Just leave me a comment and give me some ideas. And let me know what your favorite and least favorite live-action adaptation movies are based on video games. And until next time, YouTube land, I'll see you around. And, of course, before I forget, next Sunday, I will be doing a special top 12 list, the top 12 honest trailers, which, of course, is from the YouTube channel Screen Junkies, which is awesome. And I'll try to do most of that vlog with that voice. I'll try anyways. But, yeah. And also, in the next few days, I'll be trying to work on at least 2, maybe 3 video game reviews. So, stay tuned for that. And, well, I'll see you next time here in YouTube land. And in honor, of course, Indy, and as always, in honor of Dragon Ball Z. Since I am Goku-san DBZ, it only makes sense to use the original late 90s, early millennia theme from Funimation. And let me know if you would like me to start ending all my YouTube videos with the Dragon Ball Z music. Just let me know. And of course, as always, please subscribe and let other people know about my channel. And you can follow me, of course, at twitter.com/GokuSunDBZ.